You may have seen headlines or viral posts saying, "The Supreme Court just issued a unanimous ruling that changes retirement in every state." If that's what brought you here, stop for a second, because the most expensive mistake you can make right now is restructuring your retirement plan based on a claim that isn't verified. As of today, there is not a single confirmed, sweeping 9-0 Supreme Court decision that rewrites how retirement works in every state in the way those posts describe. But here's the real issue. Supreme Court rulings do shape retirement rules in major ways, and misinformation spreads faster than the truth. So in this video, I'm going to do two things. First, I'll show you how to quickly verify whether a Supreme Court retirement ruling is real and what it actually says. Second, I'll explain the real categories of Supreme Court decisions that can affect your pension, your 401k, your IRA, your Social Security tax situation at the state level, and even planning decisions like where you retire. By the end, you'll know what to do next, without panic and without guessing. Welcome back to Senior Security Benefits. I'm George. If you're retired, close to retirement, or helping family members with benefits and taxes, subscribe. This channel exists for clear explanations that protect your money, especially when confusing legal or government news hits. Now let's talk about what people get wrong when they hear Supreme Court ruling. A Supreme Court decision is binding precedent, yes, but the impact depends on the actual case, the actual legal question, and the actual holding, not the way a headline summarizes it. That's why the first step is verification. Here's how you verify this in under 2 minutes. First, ask one simple question. What is the name of the case? If a video or article can't name the case, plaintiff versus defendant, and can't tell you the decision date, that's your first red flag. Second, go to supremecourt.gov and search the case name, or use Google Plus cite supremecourt.gov with the case name. Third, check at least one reliable legal or news source that links to the actual opinion text. You're looking for the holding, the part that says what the court decided, not a dramatic summary. If you want, paste the case name in the comments or send it to me, and I'll tell you what the ruling actually says and who it applies to. Because I'm not going to let you make a financial decision based on a rumor. Now, let's assume the best case scenario. There really is a Supreme Court decision that touches retirement. What kinds of Supreme Court rulings actually change retirement planning? There are a few buckets that matter a lot. Bucket 1 is retirement accounts and creditor protection, especially in bankruptcy. For example, the Supreme Court has ruled in the past on whether certain types of retirement accounts are protected from creditors the way people assume they are. That matters for inherited accounts, rollovers, and how you title assets. A single Supreme Court opinion in this area can change how attorneys advise families to pass retirement accounts down to children. Bucket 2 is pensions and state benefit promises. Many state and local pension issues are governed by state constitutions and state contract law principles, and those rules vary widely. Some states treat pension benefits like a stronger contractual promise. Other states allow more changes, especially for future accruals. Courts, including the Supreme Court in certain contexts, can weigh in when constitutional rights or federal law are involved. But it's rarely as simple as, states can never change retirement rules again. The details matter. Bucket 3 is federal preemption, especially ERISA. ERISA is the federal law that governs many private employer retirement plans. When the Supreme Court rules on ERISA preemption, it can impact whether states can impose certain requirements, whether certain claims can be brought under state law, and what protections apply in workplace retirement disputes. That's a category where a single Supreme Court decision can have national impact. Bucket 4 is state taxation of retirement income. This part is huge because so many people choose where to retire based on state tax policy. Now here's the reality. States can change tax laws. They do it all the time. But sometimes states run into constitutional limits, like equal protection problems or unlawful discrimination between groups of retirees. Supreme Court precedent has addressed situations where a state's tax treatment discriminated between federal and state retirees, and those kinds of rulings can force states to rewrite policies. And bucket 5 is administrative law, how agencies interpret statutes, how much deference courts give to agencies, and how rules are applied. Even when a case doesn't mention retirement in the title, an administrative law ruling can still affect how federal agencies enforce retirement-related regulations. So when you hear, "This changes retirement everywhere," the question isn't, "Is it scary?" The question is, which bucket is it in, and who is actually affected. Now let's address the biggest claim floating around in scripts like the one you're seeing. The idea that a Supreme Court decision has created a new constitutional rule that stops states from changing retirement rules if people relied on the old law. That sounds powerful, and in some contexts, courts do recognize reliance interests. But in real life, the legal standard isn't a simple three-part test that automatically blocks changes. States often can make changes prospectively, and sometimes they can even change how benefits are taxed or calculated, as long as the changes follow constitutional limits and state-specific contract protections. So here's the practical takeaway. Even if a court decision strengthens protections for retirees in certain situations, you should not assume it freezes state tax policy or pension policy permanently. What it does do, when the ruling is real and relevant, is give people legal arguments and boundaries. That's important, but it's not a magic shield. Now let's bring this down to what you should do with your own retirement plan, starting today, regardless of what the rumor mill says. Step 1. Document your current situation. Save your most recent 1099-R forms, your Social Security 1099, and any pension plan summaries you receive. If you're a public employee, keep copies of your pension plan terms, benefit statements, and any notices about formula changes. If you ever need to prove what you relied on, you need records. Don't rely on memory. Step 2. Document your state's retirement tax rules as they exist today. That means retirement income treatment, pension exemptions, Social Security taxation rules, and any credits for seniors. Screenshot or save the official state revenue website pages and keep a PDF in your records. If you ever relocate, keep records of what rules influenced your decision. That's not paranoia, that's smart record keeping. Step 3. Do not make a major move based on a headline. If you're thinking about relocating for taxes, verify the rules, verify residency requirements, and verify whether the benefit you care about is actually exempt. Many people assume retirement income isn't taxed, and later learn only certain categories are exempt or there are income limits. Step 4. If you're a green card holder or planning citizenship, treat tax compliance like a core part of your file. That doesn't mean you need to panic. It means file on time, keep transcripts, and fix mistakes early. If a legal change causes confusion, the safest approach is always document, comply, and consult. Step 5. Talk to the right professional, not just any professional. If the issue is state taxation, you want a tax professional familiar with that state. If it's pensions, you may need someone who understands public pension law in your state. If it's bankruptcy protection for retirement accounts, that's a legal question. Not every financial advisor is equipped for that. And not every tax preparer knows international reporting or state pension quirks. Now, I also want to address Social Security directly because many scripts imply that Supreme Court rulings suddenly change Social Security benefits. Social Security itself is a federal program. A Supreme Court case can affect aspects of administration or disputes, but your monthly Social Security amount isn't typically changed overnight by one decision. Where the state angle comes in is taxation. Some states tax Social Security benefits and some don't. Changes there come from state legislatures unless a court ruling forces a change because the policy violates constitutional rules. So here's what I want you to remember. If someone tells you, all 9 justices agreed and retirement just changed forever, don't react, verify. Get the case name, read the holding, identify which group it affects, then make decisions based on the real text, not the dramatic summary. If you want, reply with the case name and the state it originated from, and I'll do a clean breakdown. What the court actually said, what it did not say, who benefits, and what steps, if any, you should consider. And if you found this helpful, subscribe to Senior Security Benefits, because the next wave of retirement misinformation is already being recorded as we speak. And staying informed is how you keep control of your future.